far as 25 inches.
The first crewed moon mission in more than 50 years.
Booster ignition and liftoff. The crew of Artemis 2 now bound for the moon.
Wow! Oh my goodness!
4 NASA astronauts head further into space than anyone has ever been before. The Artemis 2 mission was the second launch of the Artemis program. Its long-term aim to eventually establish a human presence on the lunar surface and beyond.
I just kept saying to them yesterday, I really like it up here.
This is the first step, really, of sending humans back to the surface of the moon for a sustained presence.
From record-breaking feats and scientific breakthroughs to emotional moments.
Integrity, we have you loud and clear.
Houston, we have you the same, and it is so great to hear from Earth again.
With the world watching, here is how the historic mission unfolded. It's been more than 50 years since there's been a crewed mission to the moon. NASA, the US government space agency, says it eventually aims to have a long-term human presence on the lunar surface and then go on to Mars.
This time it's different. With Artemis, we're going back to stay. We're going back to put a sustained presence on the moon, building a moon base, building that permanent presence. We're going to a different location, going to the South Pole where no one's been before.
The mission to the moon and back will take around 10 days. For the first day, the astronauts will orbit the Earth, checking the spacecraft's vital systems. The crew will then begin a 4-day journey deeper into space than humans have ever been before. The Orion capsule won't land on the moon, it will fly around its far side before gravity guides it back towards Earth. Their 4-day journey back home will conclude with the capsule splashing down in the Pacific Ocean.
I am looking forward to seeing the Orion spacecraft under parachutes splashing down safely off the west coast of the United States. I mean, look, this is a dangerous mission. This is a test flight mission. Now, you have test pilots on board that spacecraft. You have astronauts that have trained for years. They know they're contributing to a far grander endeavor, but this is a big deal.
They're sharing a front row seat to history, according to NASA. So who are the crew? Artemis 2 Commander Reed Wiseman is a Navy veteran and has previously served aboard the International Space Station.
Artemis is building on an already solid legacy. Right now, our crews are on the International Space Station, learning how to truly work off of the planet. These are lessons that will be critical on the moon and as we look forward.
Pilot and NASA astronaut Victor Glover previously flew NASA's SpaceX Crew 1 mission. He's the first black person to go to the moon.
The pilot's role is to back up the commander as the second in command of the crew, and also to understand the status of the vehicle, and if need be, to manually control the vehicle or make inputs to change the status of any vehicle systems.
Mission specialist Christina Cook participated in the first all-female spacewalk in 2019, and now she's become the first woman astronaut ever assigned to a lunar mission.
Still seeing Christina Cook there on the end of the robotic arm. It is going to be moving.
These other astronauts have an amazing history, amazing record. They all have a military background, and I come from a more raw technical engineering background, and I think that complements one another really well.
And this is mission specialist Jeremy Hansen's first time in space. The Canadian is the first non-American to go to the moon.
I've been inspired by space exploration from an early age, and so this really is full circle for me. It's kind of where it began, going back to the moon.
There's little margin for error. Earlier scheduled launches were delayed by technical issues. Each pause forced NASA back into inspections, repairs and retesting.
It's very challenging to move a large, heavy rocket, but actually that's part of the process, is getting it to the launch pad, running through that wet dress rehearsal, making sure everything is going according to plan. And if they do have any problems, they have the ability to bring it back into the vertical assembly building. A wet dress rehearsal is where we will run through the whole launch sequence. The reason why they call it wet is because fuel is actually being added. Now, the problems that we've seen in the wet dress rehearsal are leaks with hydrogen and with helium. When is a rocket safe to launch? It would have been stress tested. There comes a point when the engineering community decide that this is ready to go.
It's April 1st, 2026, Launch Day. All attention is now on Launch Pad 39B at the Kennedy Space Center. At 98 meters tall, the white and orange tower is the heaviest rocket the agency has ever launched.
You look at that launch pad, it has seen all the predecessors to Artemis. That's where the Saturn V's lifted off the Apollo missions to go to the moon. The shuttles went from that launch site. You can see components of each one of those in that vehicle.
NASA forecasters' main worry is clouds floating gently in the blue sky above the Space Center. It's hard to imagine that the most powerful rocket NASA ever built could be thwarted by a fluffy cloud, but it can, because lightning can be created if it flies through one.
So we're looking at the time of the launch, right? And the flight path of the launch. Those are the things that, wind conditions at various altitudes affect, making sure the temperatures are within range for when you first take off so that you don't get any anomalies you're not expecting.
Around 400,000 people have gathered locally to watch the launch.
Grew up during the Apollo era. Remember watching the landing on TV.
I got here around 7 a.m. I woke up around 4.
It's been over 50 years since we've gone to the moon, and to be able to witness it in person, to see something that we've only witnessed in documentaries, especially for my generation, is kind of magical.
At key moments in the mission, like launch day, the astronauts will wear their distinctive orange suits, the Orion Crew Survival System.
In effect, the spacesuit is a body-shaped balloon that holds your personal atmosphere. The main thing about the Orion spacesuit is it's designed to keep the crew safe not only at launch and landing during dynamic phases of flight, but if something were to go wrong while you're in transit to the moon or in lunar orbit, they're designed to sustain you for that full duration of return. So they become your own personal-sized spacecraft that can last up to 6 days. Nominally, we will wear them for launch. We will doff the suits, meaning take them off, and then we will don the suits just prior to re-entry.
The Artemis crew have undergone extensive training wearing their spacesuits, but today's the day they'll wear them for real.
You literally show up in your long underwear to the suit room. They put those spacesuits on, they test them. You might have seen some of them looking like really big and blown up, and that's to make sure they're really holding pressure. And when everything's really all done, and then they climb in that elevator, they walk out through the same doorway that Mercury, Gemini, Apollo, and Space Shuttle astronauts walked out. They're driving on the road to the launch pad. Sometimes they end up stopping to let off people for launch control, but it looks like they're not going to do that.
It's the crew's final journey on Earth's soil before they lift off into space.
It's such a big, steady sort of pressure up. I mean, you're already going 100 miles an hour by the time you clear the launch pad. It's more about, it is just relentless. It's so clear you are not stopping. Not until you get to space when those engines cut off.
Artemis 2 crew is go for launch. Full set.
And there you see the crew access arm moving away. But now with that arm retracting, the backup transitions to a launch abort system.
And CLS is go for core stage engine start.
And here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7. RS-25 engines lit. 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition. And liftoff. The crew of Artemis 2 now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
Wow! Oh my goodness, that is spectacular. It's not just what you see and you hear as the rocket lifts off. You can actually feel the force of it through your body. This is the most powerful rocket that NASA has ever built. Oh, wow.
Super stoked that there's a female astronaut going up, and it is just really incredible to see the diversity.
I've never seen anything like it. It's the first time I've ever seen a rocket launch, and it was just really kind of moving to see just how much power was in that rocket, and it went off so quick. It was so bright, it was like looking at the sun.
It is many nations coming together to be able to make this dream happen.
Confirmed separation.
The twin boosters separate as the rocket shoots towards the edge of the Earth's atmosphere before crossing the boundary into space. The stakes couldn't be higher here at the Kennedy Space Center. NASA has set itself the goal of sending astronauts to the lunar surface by 2028. That's an ambitious target. The performance of the Orion spacecraft and crew will give the clearest indication yet as to whether that's really achievable. The Orion spacecraft Integrity is now orbiting the Earth, with Commander Reed Wiseman in contact with Mission Control. NASA are streaming aspects of life on board. The astronauts test the spacecraft to ensure everything's working properly. A few issues do crop up. A brief communications dropout and a problem with the toilet. NASA says it will take the crew a while to acclimatise.
You might not feel like eating a lot. Your body is acclimating to zero G, and it takes a little bit of adapting.
The Artemis II crew are the first to have travelled beyond low Earth orbit since Apollo 17 in 1972.
We'd like to dedicate the first steps of Apollo 17 to all those who made it possible.
Returning to the moon, it matters for several reasons. There's science, there's exploration, and there's inspiration. On the science, there's a huge amount to learn from the moon that can teach us about the Earth and the early origins of the solar system. Then there's exploration. Humans have an innate desire to want to explore, and so the moon is one of the easiest places, 3 to 4 days away from Earth. So it's a stepping stone, if you like, to Mars, and in the long term, even beyond Mars. And then there's inspiration, which is, I think, the Apollo era showed that the effect that can have on the global population about sending humans out beyond Earth.
Right away, Houston.
Ten seconds until translunar injection burn start.
The translunar injection burn is the powerful thrust that sends Orion on its slingshot path to the moon and then back to Earth.
Your Integrity crew is go for TLI.
The crew on board are mesmerised by what they can see.
And we are getting just a beautiful view of the dark side of the Earth right now, lit by the moon. Phenomenal.
The crew are also getting used to life in space and reflecting on their smooth journey so far.
One of the biggest surprises was how smooth riding those solids was. We all expected a really just dynamic ride, a lot of motion. We were prepared to potentially not being able to see telemetry, maybe even not being able to, touch switches, and it was very smooth.
For me, it's just so extraordinary. I just kept saying to them yesterday, I really like it up here.
We're just getting started. We've worked really hard, and even though we were a little surprised to actually launch yesterday, we have a lot of mission left ahead of us.
And I got to tell you, there is nothing normal about this. Sending 4 humans 250,000 miles away is a Herculean effort, and we are now just realizing the gravity of that.
How did the crew sleep in zero gravity?
Most of us have been sleeping really well. For me, sleeping in space is one of the most comfortable ways to sleep.
They'll have sleeping bags strung different directions. I think one of the crew members has said that they'll sleep up in the docking hatch area, kind of curled up in there. So they use sleeping bags and they kind of strap themselves in, and that's how they'll sleep. There's window shades they put on the windows to keep the sunlight out.
Sleeping here is it's actually sort of comical. Christina has been sleeping heads down in the middle of the vehicle, kind of like a bat suspended from our docking tunnel. Victor's been up where Jeremy is right now. He's got a nice little nook wedged in there. And then Jeremy has been stretched out on seat 1, and I've been sleeping under the displays just in case anything goes wrong.
As the capsule makes progress towards the moon, the Earth starts to diminish behind it. The crew keep busy carrying out tests on the capsule, their equipment, and even themselves. There's not much room inside the capsule, but they're adapting to how best to eat, work, and even exercise.
We've taught them and trained them how to document and observe the moon from their unique vantage point. There's also just the aspect of the humanity of being able to be in a position like that.
It's not all plain sailing though.
You're getting a live look outside the windows of the Orion spacecraft as they conduct that wastewater dump.
There's a new problem with the Universal Waste Management System. That's space toilet to you and I.
During the night, we tried to vent the wastewater tank that's attached to the toilet. We had problems with that due to suspected blockage, we think probably due to ice. So we directed the crew overnight to use their collapsible contingency urine devices, just like they did on flight day 1.
And Integrity Houston, breaking news. We have results on the discussions down here for the tank venting, and at this time, you are go for all types of uses of the toilet.
By day 4, the issues with the crew's loo were fixed, much to the relief of those on board.
And the crew rejoices. Thank you.
It meant all attention could turn towards the final preparations for the lunar flyby.
The moon we are looking at is not the moon you see from Earth whatsoever.
And an opportunity to admire the moon from new angles.
We were screaming right above the clouds, and now here we are, well over 100,000 miles away from Earth and closer to the moon than we are to the Earth right now.
The Grand Canyon of the moon is called Oriental Basin, and we were able to see the entire thing. Stand by. We were able to see the entire thing, and so it's clear that we are not on Earth because that feature is not all visible from Earth.
The Artemis 2 crew took this photo revealing the moon's far side and the Oriental Basin, here on the right edge of the lunar disk. It's never been seen by humans before. By day 5, the Orion capsule is closer to the moon than Earth, speeding through space.
One of the interesting things that happens when you look at a moon that inherently just looks different is like the darker parts just aren't quite in the right place, and something about you senses that is not the moon that I'm used to seeing.
Back on Earth, the NASA team is preparing for the lunar flyby. The BBC's Rebecca Morell was allowed inside.
This is Artemis Mission Control. It's the nerve centre of the entire operation. The team here are monitoring all of the spacecraft systems, from communications to propulsion to life support, 24 hours a day. The person sitting here is the flight director. They're in charge of the whole show. And next to them is what's known as Capcom, the capsule communicator. It's their voice that the astronauts hear and their link with home.
The crew have been trained by lunar scientists so they can take photos, make sketches and record audio descriptions during the flyby.
Hearing the crew describing what they're seeing on that far side of the moon, I can't wait to hear how excited they are when they're actually looking at the moon from close up. So that's going to be the moment that's going to make me probably burst into tears, I should think, knowing me.
The crew were also able to answer children's questions about what exactly they eat while on board.
This is actually shrimp cocktail, and this has been rehydrated already, so we added water to it and the shrimp soaked back up the water, and it's actually pretty tasty.
Not forgetting a special treat for the resident Canadian.
Here's the maple syrup that we opened up and had at lunchtime today. So we had a little bit of Canada on board today.
The crew prepare to travel further into space than ever before and are on course to break a record previously set more than half a century ago. A record-breaking moment for the team.
From the cabin of Integrity here as we surpass the furthest distance humans have ever traveled from planet Earth.
The crew's position beyond the frontier of human space exploration offers sight of new lunar features, and they've given some of them names, including a crater named Integrity, after their spacecraft, and another feature named after Commander Reed Wiseman's late wife.
And so we lost a loved one. Her name was Carol, the spouse of Reed, the mother of Katie and Ellie. And it's a bright spot on the moon.
The moon is getting ever closer, and one of the other features the crew will record is colour.
When you look up at the moon at night, of course, you see whites, blacks, and grays, right? That whole spectrum. But when you really start to spend time and let your eyes kind of get attuned to what you're seeing, you do see subtle shades of color pop out, especially when you're close to the moon.
The crew are now entering the lunar observation period, a window of time for scientific study.
There's only a set number of hours between the start of the close approach and the end of the flyby. So we have to have people looking at the data right away to be able to advise the crew what to do next.
The crew reported colours on the surface, which will help enhance scientific understanding of the moon.
We look at the moon at night and it all looks gray or dark or light, but it doesn't look colorful. We don't expect to see very bright colors on the moon, but some colors, browns, greens, things like that, give us an indication of what chemicals are there. And that can be very interesting, both to explain how the moon formed with the Earth, how different is it from Earth, but also whether any of these elements could be usable in the future, whether they're usable to make rocket fuel or air or water for drinking, or whether they'd be useful for building materials, like to build up a base on the moon.
As Orion travels behind the moon, the crew witness an Earth set, where the Earth drops below the lunar horizon. When Orion swings behind the moon, radio contact will drop, the start of a planned 40-minute silence.
Houston copies. We'll see you on the other side.
We will see you on the other side.
They've now reached the mission's maximum distance from Earth, setting a new record for human spaceflight. The crew witness an Earth rise as they emerge from behind the moon, moments before the spacecraft signal is restored.
Houston, Integrity, comm check.
Integrity, we have you loud and clear.
Houston, we have you the same, and it is so great to hear from Earth again.
About an hour later, the crew witnessed a solar eclipse, using it to study the sun's corona, glowing around the moon's edge.
We have such faith in our vehicle integrity, such faith in mission control, that we were just at complete peace and just doing our job, collect as much science data as we could while we were on the far side of the moon, and we were just giddy in here.
As the lunar observation period ends, the crew receive a surprise call from the President.
I wanted to congratulate each and every one of you and tell me what is the most unforgettable part of this really historic day.
We saw sights that no human has ever seen before, not even in Apollo, and that was amazing for us.
I think one of the biggest highlights was coming back from the far side of the moon and having the first glimpses of planet Earth again.
Orion begins its journey back to Earth after a week in space.
Wow, thank you for showing us that. That is so cool.
What will you miss most about being in space, and what won't you miss at all?
This sense of teamwork is something that you don't usually get, like, as an adult. I mean, we are close, like brothers and sisters. 100%. And that is a privilege we will never have again. I have to say, I don't think there's anything I would say I won't miss or that I'm just ready to be over, because this whole thing is a package. We can't explore deeper unless we are doing a few things that are inconvenient.
The return home is the most dangerous part of the mission.
And one of the first press conferences we were asked, what are we looking forward to? And I said, splashdown. And I haven't even begun to process what we've been through. We've still got 2 more days. And riding a fireball through the atmosphere is profound as well. I'm going to be thinking about and talking about all of these things for the rest of my life, for sure.
The crew depend on the capsule's heat shield, which faces Earth during re-entry into the atmosphere and protects them from temperatures up to 2,700 degrees Celsius, about half as hot as the sun's surface.
A good view of integrity, time to splash down 4.5 minutes.
The historic mission is almost over.
Your trajectory is nominal and your recovery teams have visual.
After passing through the atmosphere, parachutes are deployed to slow down the spacecraft.
And Houston, we're visual 2 drogues out the window.
We copy, we see them.
Leading to a splashdown in the Pacific Ocean off the California coast.
Houston Integrity, splashdown, sending post-landing command now.
Where a recovery team awaits.
A modern-day mission to the moon, a new chapter of the exploration of our celestial neighbor is complete.
So y'all, we did it. We sent 4 amazing people to the moon and safely returned them to Earth for the first time in more than 50 years.
With the capsule safely back on Earth, the first crewed moon mission in more than 50 years has reached its end. Everything will now be assessed in detail to shape the expeditions that will follow.
Finally peering out, waving at the cameras.
For the astronauts themselves, an unforgettable, history-making experience.